Spit Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. This is the Spit Sports Show. How's everybody doing out there? We are in for a heck of a week 5. Besides the trash Thursday nighter tonight and the Lions playing a terrible team, which I'm sad about, the week is going to look really, really good. From top to bottom, we started off at like 6:30 with Bills Jags, which is going to be a heck of a matchup. We're going to get into that later in the show. And we've got a colossal NFC Titan matchup between two of the best rosters in the NFL, Cowboys and the Niners, which we're going to get into shortly. Just overall, this is going to be a really, really good week of football. But like I said, I want to start in that matchup with the Niners and the Cowboys. I want to talk about one of the most interesting rivalries in sports that nobody seems to talk about, that I'm going to name in just a second. So as I looked at this game and kind of the rundown of the rosters and the play ideas and what both teams are looking to do, all of that stuff as I do for most of the big matchups, what made me really pause and think was how similar these two teams are in what they're trying to accomplish as they move forward in the NFL. So both teams, first thing they want to do on offense is run the ball. They want to dominate the time of possession and establish the line of scrimmage. The Niners do this with Christian McCaffrey and that top tier O-line led behind Trent Williams. Cowboys do it behind Tony Pollard and a little bit of Deuce Vaughn here and there, but their run game is solid, but not quite on San Fran's level. Both teams have great defenses to hide their just above average quarterback play. Obviously, the Niners statistically the last 3 years have had the best defense in the NFL. And this year so far, it looks like on paper the Cowboys have the best defense. Obviously, Trevon Diggs going down hurts them a lot, especially in the secondary. But the Cowboys still have a phenomenal pass rush, a great ability to get to the quarterback. And overall, Dan Quinn is an unbelievable defensive coordinator for them. So their defenses are both probably the star unit of each of their teams respectively. Both teams are led by a proven offensive coach who has a history of choking in big time spots. Obviously, we can talk about that Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan, where he was the offensive coordinator for the Falcons, or even the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, where he had a 17-point lead. And Mike McCarthy, it's hard to talk about the times where he didn't choke out a playoff game, to be totally honest with you. The last couple years against the Niners, a few times with Aaron Rodgers against the Falcons in the playoffs, against the Cardinals one year, terrible clock management. So both of them have a bit of a history of, not winning that big game, even though both of them are really respected as offensive minds. Kyle probably a bit more than Mike. Both teams have a dominant wide receiver one. I think CeeDee Lamb is a bit better than Deebo Samuel, but the Niners also have Brandon Ayuk, who's looking like one of the top 20 receivers in the NFL this year. We've been waiting for him to break out for the last couple of seasons, but this is the year it seems like he's really put it together with Purdy slinging him the rock. They both have good O-line, but throughout every single one of those points I said, the Niners are better than the Cowboys are. They both want to do the same things. The Niners are just better and more talented. Both teams want to run the ball, dominate time possession. Niners do that better. Christian McCaffrey is better than Tony Pollard and Deuce Vaughn, or whatever kind of combination they want. The Niners also have Elijah Mitchell as a very serviceable backup. He's a very good player. 49ers offensive line is also just straight up better, led by the best left tackle I have seen with my own two eyes in Trent Williams. Best left tackle I've ever seen play live anyways. Both teams, great defenses. Niners defense is definitely better. Fred Warner at the middle linebacker spot. Nick Bosa is every bit as good as Micah Parsons is at pass rushing. Micah can obviously drop into coverage better than Nick can, but in terms of what they do, Ofunga on the Niners defense is really, really good. And I think their secondaries are about even with, especially with Trayvon Diggs out. So again, edge to the Niners on defense. Both teams are led by a proven offensive coach. Kyle Shanahan is undisputedly a better coach than Mike McCarthy. It's not close nowadays. It might have been a conversation back in 2010 or 2011 when Kyle was probably a special teams coordinator or something like that. But nowadays, not close. We know who the better coach is. Both teams, dominant wide receiver one. Like I said, I think Lamb is a bit better than Samuel is, but Ayuk, on top of that, George Kittle, makes for a better weaponry than what the Cowboys have. I don't like the Cowboys wide receiver 2 or 3, to be totally honest with you. I think Gallup and Cooks are serviceable, but they're definitely not Kittle and Ayuk. It comes down to this. Jerry Jones is the owner, operator, general manager, head coach, everything for the Dallas Cowboys. He builds this roster. And he wants to build it the exact same way that John Lynch, the San Francisco 49ers GM, wants to build his. Unfortunately for Jerry Jones, John Lynch has been ahead of him every single step of the way. He's developed a better defense. He's drafted better. He's put better pieces around his Mr. Irrelevant last pick of the draft quarterback, to which now he looks like a better version of Kirk Cousins to me. Now, would he look that way outside of the Niners offense? No, of course not. But that is on John Lynch's plate for making him look that good with that roster around him. I think the Cowboys have the better quarterback talent-wise, but the roster around him isn't what the Niners is. I think Jerry Jones looks up to John Lynch in a strange way in that they want to build their teams very similarly. John Lynch is always just a step ahead, though. He's always, one more move. He trades for Christian McCaffrey last year instead of just staying put. He goes out and signs Trent Williams as the best left tackle out of Washington. He's just one step ahead of Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones, he's had some quotes in the past few years about the Niners, especially after their last couple playoff losses to them, that would make it seem like he takes this Niners rivalry personally. And that's not just on the football field, that's in the front office. So I think it's the most under-talked about rivalry in sports. It's not between two players, it's about two executives, Jerry Jones and John Lynch, both trying to build NFC powerhouses the exact same way, but John Lynch just doing it a little bit better than Jerry Jones. I think the Niners win this game just based off of all of the points I just said, their talent, their coaching, all of that. I don't think they cover the spread, though. I do think it's going to be a close game because I think Dallas's quarterback is better than the Niners quarterback. That game is not in my picks. So the other game that is going to be just a barn burner, or at least I hope it is Jags Bills. So I went through this game, and so you give the defensive edge to Buffalo, especially after what they did to Miami last year. Just stick with me. I got a point here. Give the defensive edge to Buffalo, especially with what they did against Miami, rushing four, putting pressure onto it consistently with not blitzing was very, very impressive. Also, their head coach is defensive-minded, and he's very good at what he does. Offensively, I like Jacksonville's pieces a lot more than I like the Bills, actually. I think the Bills obviously have the best receiver out of everyone in this game in Diggs, but Calvin Ridley isn't far behind him. When I watch this guy play, it's amazing to me that the Falcons let him go. I know he had all kinds of issues with his gambling and off the field stuff, but in terms of him in Jacksonville, from what I hear, he's been a model citizen, and he just gets open. Unbelievably fast, great hands, and I love Zay Jones as his number two. I love Christian Kirk. I think their entire offense is just better than the Bills is in terms of weaponry. Their offensive lines are pretty similar. I think the Bills is slightly better, but it's not really much to affect the swing of the game. Call head coach a wash. I think Doug Peterson is a really good head coach, and I think Sean McDermott is too. So what does this game all come down to? As usual, the quarterbacks. This is where I want to go on a little bit of a Trevor Lawrence rant here. I've never been the biggest believer in this guy. I think he's really good. I think he's above average tier is where he is. He's above that Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott tier. I think he's right there. I think he's from the 9th to 7th best quarterback in the NFL. But one thing I look at in quarterbacks is, do you do something special? Mahomes, he's got maybe the most incredible arm talent in NFL history. Josh Allen, who he's playing against, is the most physically imposing quarterback I've ever seen. 6'6", can run over people, big arm. Justin Herbert, smart quarterback with his arm talent. Lamar, best running quarterback ever. Joe Burrow, he gets the ball out quicker than it. You go through it, and you're like, okay, this quarterback has this specific trait that he is the best at, and that's what makes him so great. Trevor Lawrence, when I watch him play, does he do anything spectacularly? I mean, he does everything well. He is good at intermediate throws. He can hit a deep ball every once in a while. He's mobile enough, but overall, what's his special thing? I don't know what it is. I think Trevor Lawrence is overrated by the media. I think he's, like I said, anywhere from the 9th to the 7th best quarterback in the NFL. And I think this game is going to prove it. Because like I said, if you look at it, roster to roster, I think it's pretty even. I think the Bills got the defensive edge. I think the Jags have the offensive edge, special teams, whatever. And I think the head coaches are a wash. But it's going to come down to quarterback play. And Josh Allen, having the special traits and being the special player that he is, I think is going to outduel Trevor Lawrence, who, like I said, is very good at everything. But is he great at anything? Time will tell. But I think the Bills win this game. Not in my picks, but I think the Bills got it. Line is a bit too heavy for me. Speaking of my picks, one of my favorite segments, Spit's Picks. 3-2 week last week, which we take. Obviously, a winning week's a winning week, but the ones I got wrong, I got really wrong. I said Dolphins over the Bills and the Patriots over the Cowboys. Both of those were not great, but the other three, spot on. My logic was flawless. So 3-2 week, coming into this week, I'm feeling really good about my picks. I don't want to jinx it and say 5-0, but all I owe you is my honest opinion. I think these picks are going to go 5-0. And one of the ones I feel fantastic about is the Texans plus 1.5 versus the Falcons. Anytime you get the team with the better quarterback and the better head coach and getting points, you usually want to be on that side of the bet. Atlanta seems to be really down on Desmond Ridder, man. The interviews that Arthur Smith is giving out makes it seem like he's really disappointed in his development just from his body language and the way he's talking. I think their defense is obviously torchable because it's been torched 3 times already, most notably by my Detroit Lions. Atlanta's beatable. I think Stroud is the best rookie quarterback easily out of the draft so far. And I think his weapons have really stepped up for him. I like Tank Dell a lot. I like Nico Collins a lot. I think the Texans are just better than the Falcons are, and they're getting points, and the Falcons are in a bit of a downward spiral right now. Texans plus 1.5 versus the Falcons is definitely the play. Chiefs, minus 3.5 versus the Vikings. Listen, the Chiefs cannot be proud of that performance against the Jets last week. I know they beat them, but they made Zach Wilson look like he was an actually decent NFL quarterback, and he's not. Chiefs defense, besides that game against the Jets, has looked unbelievable. They've been top 10 in every single defensive category, and the Vikings have been at the bottom of every defensive category since last year coming into this year. Vikings defense is horrendous. I think they're pretty well coached, but they just don't have enough talent to stop anybody. Patrick Mahomes, this is a get-right game for him. He didn't play well against the Jets. Coming into this game, I think he's going to look to put up a monstrous stat line. And it's not even the full 4 anymore. It's 3.5 versus the Vikings, who are 1-3 right now. I know they're playing for their season, but obviously, if you take the quarterback head coach combo, which is the most important combo in the NFL, the Chiefs have a massive edge. They're coming into this game with a chip on their shoulder. I love the Chiefs minus 3.5. Bengals getting 3 points versus the Cardinals. Look, I'm looking at the perfect storm here for me. The Bengals are coming into this game with the lowest value they could possibly have. Going with that disaster in Tennessee last week, coming into it with that. And the Cardinals are coming in probably the highest they'll be valued all season after beating the Cowboys and playing pretty respectably against the Niners in back-to-back weeks. All of that, plus the fact that the Bengals need to win this game, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If they want to make the playoffs, this is a must-have against a team coming into this season a lot of people thought were going to be tanking. We've got film on Josh Dobbs now. We know what he wants to do. We know what this Cardinals offense wants to do. I think the Bengals are going to beat them by at least a touchdown. Only 3 points. I got to swallow it. Bengals minus 3 versus the Cardinals. Eagles, minus 4.5 versus the Rams. Look, I don't usually like road favorites just because the odds are against them. But if we're being honest, this is going to be a Philly home game. There's going to be, I'd say, 75% Eagles fans in that building. And the Eagles are just better everywhere. I think their quarterback is better. I like their receivers better. I obviously like their defense better. I don't expect Cooper Kupp to be back for this game. If he is, that obviously could change the pendulum a little bit. But if it's just Puka Nacua as your featured receiver, Philly's got to feel good about a Darius Slay matchup on him. That's kind of the prototype receiver of who Darius Slay covers. You know, a small guy, a little in the slot. I like the Eagles in this game to cover. I think they win by a touchdown. Green Bay, +1 versus the Raiders. Maybe my favorite pick of the week. Second, I like that Texans pick a little better. But how are the Raiders favorites in this game? Like, Devontae, banged up. Jimmy Garoppolo, banged up. Packers coming off of getting whooped by a division opponent at home. So they're coming into this game with unbelievable motivation to get back and get right. I love the Packers in this spot. I'm hammering them getting a point against the Raiders. I think they win by at least 4 points. Love that pick this week. Again, look at these picks. You're telling me this can't be 5-0? I don't know, man. It's looking pretty good for me. I'm loving the picks this week. Hopefully you guys are too. Anyways, thank you all so much, as always, for watching, listening, supporting the show. It genuinely means the world to me. I'm still having so much fun making these episodes day to day for you guys. And thank you all so much for the support. It's been unbelievable. Follow on all social medias at The Spit Sports Show, Instagram, Twitter, all of that. And as always, I will see you all in the next episode. I love you all. Peace out.